Hey there, witches. So in this video, I want to talk to you about jar spells, specifically protection jar spells. And so I brought a few supplies. I actually don't have everything I want, but we'll start here and we'll talk about how to make a protection jar spell. So a jar spell is literally that. It's a spell in a jar. And what we're doing with a jar spell is we are filling a jar with all of the spell components that we want to have, and we are casting the spell into the jar. So the jar is the spell. Now, the reason that these are good for protection is because what we're going to do is the jar is going to turn into you. You're going to infuse the jar with your own energy. You're going to hold it, you or the person who's being protected. Hold it in your hand, infuse it, turn it into that person or a representation of that person, okay? Now that it's consecrated, now that it's you, you're going to go ahead and fill the jar. When we're doing a jar spell that's protection aligned, we want to fill that jar with things that have to do with the person who is being protected. The best thing you can do is add components that belong to that person. By this I mean like hair or nails, blood, menstrual or otherwise, saliva. Some people put urine in there. Whatever works for you. And any small personal items of yours that you are not sad or unwilling to let go of. I also like to get little like jewelry charms that represent whatever it is that I'm calling forth, maybe some protection symbols, stuff like that. And you're going to put all of that in the jar. Also in my jar spells, I tend to put crystals. If you put selenite in a jar spell, it's going to go ahead and it's going to constantly recharge and cleanse the spell. So that's always a good thing, but selenite does dissolve. So you might want to be like, I'm so sorry, selenite. You're going to go in there and sacrifice yourself, if that's okay with you, to be part of my spell. Once the selenite's dissolved in there, and it will take a while, it's in the jar, it's in the spell. It's still gonna be there. You can put quartz in a jar spell. You can put black tourmaline or any kind of protective stones or crystals in there as well. You're gonna fill this jar with whatever objects or items that you want to have that represent you and that represent the energy of protection. Salt also would be great to put in here. Any kind of herbs that you want to use. When I do jar spells, I also tend to put glitter in there. Glitter is a booster for spell work. Glitter just makes everything better. That's true in like a life rule in general anyway. So, and then you're going to fill it with like some liquid. So I tend to make my own oil blend. So I have a specifically formulated protection blend in here. So I would take this oil, pour a bunch of it into this jar. You can buy pre-made oils that kind of have their own resonance. You can pre-purchase them from either from other witches or from different websites that sell oils. The pre-made oils kind of tend to come in little containers like this. This one says cast off evil. There's a whole bunch of them that you can go ahead and do. You're going to put some of them in there. From there, you're going to use either moon water, which is water that you set out under the full moon to charge it. And you're going to tell your water what it's going to do for you in this spell, and or ask it, request that it supports you. You can use Florida water. You can use some sacred spiritual waters that you buy online. You can infuse your own waters with whatever kind of energy you want, salt or otherwise, and you're going to put all of those components into the jar. You can top it off with just some blessed water or some oils. Put any herbs that you want to have into this jar as well, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. So do some research and figure out what herbs work for you, because there are thousands of herbs that do thousands of things, and I don't want to go ahead and give you a recipe. I want you to do some legwork and figure out what is going to work for you. After that, you're going to seal up your jar. It's going to be full of all your stuff, topped off with blessed water, sacred waters, whatever it might be. Now it is you. You're going to say, this is now the spell that represents my protection. As long as the spell is in existence, I am protected. Now here's the thing. When we're making a jar spell for protection, what's happening is, the reason we're putting our hair or nails, whatever in it, is it's because it's kind of becoming a proxy. A proxy means that it is a representation of something else. So if it is a proxy of you, what's happening is that any negative energy that would come to you is now going to get diverted and go into the jar. The jar is going to absorb the energy that's coming for you. It's a representation of you and your energy. So you're going to say, any negative or harmful energy that's sent my way, whether intentional or otherwise, is going to first get absorbed by this jar and all the energy in this jar. Once you have all of that set up, I want you to feed your spell. We feed our spells by taking a candle that we have carved. I've already carved this one. blessing the candle with sacred and anointed oils. So I'll go ahead and put some of my oil from my blend, my protection blend here. I'll just put it on there, right? This is me just putting my oil on my candle. And then I'm going to rub that in the way that I do it. Now, I like to go with a protection spell. I am taking away negative energy. I'm taking it away, right? I'm saying this is what the spell does. It removes negative energy, okay? I'll set this candle on top of my jar. I will light it. The candle will melt onto the jar and hereby seal the jar, charge the jar, infuse the jar with the energy, and turn the jar into the spell. This is activating the spell. Whenever you're feeling like you're needing to increase the energy, reinvigorate the spell, or charge it, you can do a couple of things. You can set the spell, the jar spell, out in the full moon, and you can say, please cleanse this jar of any energy it's absorbed, and please charge it back to its vibration. Please charge it back to the resonance that I have infused it with. Please reactivate the spell is basically what you're saying. You can then also re-carve or reinscribe, whatever, a candle that you have set to protect you. Put it back on top of that lid, light it, do your whole thing again, play your music to it, set your incense upon it, put it in a circle, whatever it is you do to work with your spells, and feed that jar. You can do this as often or as not often as you so choose. But this is the greatest way to have a protection component in your home that you can work with on a regular basis that is set specifically to absorb your energy. When you're done with this spell, if you don't want to keep an active spell jar in your house, what I like you to do with protection jars is take them to your backyard and bury them back there. The backyard represents the self and all of the stuff that we're keeping in our personal world and in our inner world. All the stuff we're keeping goes in the backyard. Things we're getting rid of or things that we're kind of drawing to us in an external capacity is going to go in the front yard. That's a whole different thing. Backyard is for the stuff we're keeping close to home. So you'll bury it in your backyard and you'll direct it as you're burying it. You're going to ask the earth, is it okay if I put you here? You're going to tell the earth what it's doing. You're going to say, hey, divert all negative energy here into this soil where my jar lives. Please and thank you, blessed be, etc., etc. You always want to approach all spell work with an energy of gratitude. You want to approach all spell work with an energy of humility and respect. You want to call upon whatever deities that might be willing to support you if you know and are comfortable with doing that. You want to be very respectful and thankful of them. You want to leave an offering of sorts. Incense is always an excellent offering for any kind of magic work. And then you want to go out occasionally to where your spell is buried and bless it, offer it something, maybe pour some moon water over it, or something along those lines. But in general, you're going to set it, forget it, and let it do its work for you. I hope that this is helpful. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave me a comment, and please go ahead and subscribe. Thanks so much.